Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It is 1 o'clock on August 7th, and that means it's time for another Western Liberty Network Saturday sessions. And these are available almost every Saturday live at 1 o'clock by going to the www.westernlibertynetwork.org website. We also have them available for review on our training tab, which I'll take you to now. I'm going to share my screen. This is the Western Liberty Network website. On the WLN website, you can see all of the different things that WLN is doing. The most current events are at the top. Also, our training resources are also always available on the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org webpage. You can scroll down. All of our training documents are here. They're in the form of downloadable PDF files. And then we have the recorded trainings. This is one of them, and they are available for review on demand just by scrolling down to the topic that you're interested in. And by next Tuesday, the recording that we are doing right now will be posted on this page. If you participate in the training today and decide you like what you see, you're always encouraged to make a tax-deductible contribution to Western Liberty Network. Any size is helpful. You can make one-time contributions on this side, or you can make recurring monthly contributions automatically on this side using your debit or credit card. This helps keep us on the road doing live training, and that is very helpful to us. It's important to note that Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 organization. We do not endorse any political party, candidate, ballot measure, or legislation. We provide training to limited government activists on how to advance their objectives politically, and they of course are free to use the training they obtain in any way they feel is constructive. Any comments made by our guest trainers or participants are solely their own responsibility and may not necessarily reflect the views of Western Liberty Network. And with that, I want to welcome all of you to this week's training, and that's going to be basically an outline of the responsibilities of effective precinct committee chair people and how to be effective. Now, I'm assuming by your presence here that all of you are either precinct committee chair people yourselves, interested in becoming a precinct committee chairperson, or want to help precinct committee chair people in your area. And once again, we don't endorse any party. This is generic to any political party that has precinct committee chair people. And it's also useful to those who maybe are not working for a political party, but are working for a particular issue or a specific candidate and simply want to organize the precinct on their own. Before we begin, does anyone want to make any comments or let us know what your roles are in terms of obtaining this training today? No comments, so I will dig right in. I'm going to send this file again. I have a file here that you can download. This file contains 3 documents. It contains an outline sheet from Western Liberty Network, an outline of the responsibilities of effective precinct committee chair people. And it also contains precinct committee chairperson handbooks from the Republican Party of Texas and the Democratic Party of Indiana. Those are both good manuals that I saw that had a lot of really good information that can help you to be more effective. The first thing I would like to point out is that you are the representative. If you are a precinct committee chairperson, you are the representative of your political party to your precinct. There are a variety of things that you need to do right off the bat. Most county parties have an executive committee that is made up of officers and precinct committee chair people, and they vote on various things, typically in a monthly meeting relating to the party's business. And of course, if that is how your county is organized, then as a precinct committee chairperson, it is your responsibility to go to your monthly political party meetings and participate in the business by representing your precinct. The unfortunate thing is that many precinct committee people stop there. They get themselves elected or appointed as precinct committee chair people, but then they don't do much else. They want the position, they want to vote during executive committee meetings, and they do that most of the time, but they ignore many of the other things that precinct committee chair people need to do in order to be effective. Basically, the goal of precinct committee chair people in the end is to help with the party's business, which we've just discussed, but also to make your precinct, the party members in your precinct, aware of the candidates and ballot measure arguments that your organization or political party is advancing, and to get out the vote. Your job is to mobilize your precinct. If you can, recruit others into your political party or your issue movement. And then, of course, to share your successes and failures and best practices with others who are organizing precincts in the county. And that's important. If you're a precinct committee chair people, your job is to make sure that the members of your party or your issue get out and vote, are active, understand what who the candidates are and what the ballot measure positions are. Now, to do that, you need a few things. You need to meet the party members in your district, and this is going to require some shoe leather on your part. You're going to have to go around and knock on doors. Go to your political party or go to the person who is organizing for your ballot measure or issue and get a walking list of everyone in your precinct. And if you're doing it for a political party, make sure that at a minimum, that list tells who is a member of your political party and who is not. The lists you get and the maps you may get, and maps are always very helpful, will not always be 100% accurate, and that's fine. Typically, it's sometimes estimated that a list is between 10 and 20% wrong whenever you get it from a county election office or a political party, but still that means it's 80 or 90% correct. And so it's usually good enough to work off of. And if you meet somebody who moved in recently to a place where somebody else was on your list, it gives you a chance to meet them and potentially recruit them. But once you have this map and you have this walking list, make a plan and start walking your precinct. This is an indispensable role of being an effective precinct committee chairperson. A couple of guidelines. First of all, bring somebody with you. In most areas, the neighborhood is safe and people are reasonable, but bring somebody with you, a friend, a spouse, somebody like that, so that you're not walking alone. Dress business casual so that you look like you're there for a purpose, and make sure you wear a badge or a name tag that identifies you as a member of a political party, a precinct committee chairperson, or as a representative of the issue that you are representing. This will let people know, I mean, it's not official and I suppose it could be faked, but most of the time people who have that kind of a button or a name tag, folks know that it is much more likely that they are who they say you are, or who you say you are, and that you're representing yourself honestly. So it's important to look reasonable, business casual, have some kind of an identifier that says who you're with, bring somebody with you, and also bring a notepad and a clipboard for taking notes. You'll probably have this anyway because you're going to have your list and maybe your precinct maps as you go and knock on the door. But make sure you have the ability to take notes, because you will find people who are interested in becoming active. You'll find people who are not interested in becoming active. You'll find people who are not on your list but might be interested in becoming a party member or active or being registered to vote. Also bring some voter registration forms with you. Just have like a little one of those clipboards that has a little box attached to them with these items, so that if you need them, they're very handy. And then just pick a neighborhood and start knocking on doors. Now, this is an interesting time to knock on doors because of COVID. And so you need to take some precautions, as you knock on doors. The first thing is when you knock on a door and ring a doorbell, stand 6 feet away from the door. People, some people are really adamant about social distancing and masks with the Delta variant out there. Others don't care, but you want to play it safe, and you certainly don't want your opposing party or some other organization to say that you are being reckless with respect to COVID. So even if you do not believe these things help, it's important for reasons of optics to make sure that you're being very careful to observe some COVID precautions when you are knocking on doors. And of course, first is when you knock on a door or you ring a doorbell, step back at least 6 feet away. If you have been vaccinated, have a button on that says I've been vaccinated. That will help assure a lot of people who open the door that you are vaccinated, and have a mask in your pocket. Maybe don't wear it, but if someone is concerned about it, offer to put on the mask. If they say, yes, I'd be happy if you put on a mask, go ahead and do it. It'll, if nothing else, it'll extend some goodwill to the person that you're talking to. But anyhow, if you initially stay 6 feet away from the door unless you're invited to come closer. If you have an I'm vaccinated button or sticker, or if you have a mask at the ready, if somebody prefers you wear one before talking to you, you will be able to say that you did a reasonable job of observing COVID restrictions as you knock on door. Things are starting to open up. If this had been, I don't know, 10 months ago, knocking on doors would probably not have been welcome. But I think things are starting to crack loose now. And in the months ahead, despite the Delta variant, I think that they will continue to open up. Now, when you talk to people, James King just entered the waiting room. Here we go. Welcome, James. We're going to continue on with the training. If you want to see what you missed, you can look up the recording on the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org website no later than next Tuesday. So anyhow, once you're at the door, simply introduce yourself and tell them what your purpose is. Hello, my name is Richard Burke, and I'm the precinct captain for this area. I represent the X party, and I'm here to introduce myself to other members of our party and to get to know you and make sure that I'm able to get you information as the election cycle proceeds. Just something very simple like that. And ask them their name, engage in light conversation, see if they are a member, confirm that they are a member of the party if you're there for a party, tell them about your issue. If you are working for an issue, ask if they are familiar with the issue or if they agree with the issue, that sort of thing. Maybe you're collecting signatures on a ballot measure. You can say, hello, my name is Richard Burke, and I'm canvassing the precinct because I'm supporting ballot measure or ballot initiative 123, and 123 would do this. Are you aware of it? Are you interested in it? Would you like to sign it? That might be another reason that you are active in your precinct. But basically, you are there for the purpose of getting to know the people in your precinct, allowing them to get to know you, and assessing whether these people are open to being contacted, whether they're open to receiving information, and whether they're open to becoming active and being helpful. So knock on the door, once again, is very simple, very conversational. You're not asking for money, you're not asking for time. You're introducing someone and you're making them aware of your presence in their precinct. So hi, my name is Richard Burke. I'm representing the X political party. I'm the precinct committee chairperson here. And today I'm walking around introducing myself to people of the precinct. And I'd like to know, are you a member of the X party? Okay, yes, I see that on the list here. I'm interested in, as your precinct committee chairperson, finding out if you're open to receiving candidate and issue information, and if you are interested in getting involved. And of course, those are open-ended questions. Get them talking. Talk a little bit about what's going on in your neighborhood or something that's happening locally. If you can get them engaged in conversation, it's usually really good. And then after you're done with your conversation, take a couple of notes, whether of this person, what issues they're interested in, whether or not they want to be active, and whether or not they're open to receiving communication. So it's just introducing yourself, making yourself known in the precinct. That way, you know, when it's election time and you are otherwise engaged, they'll remember you and you won't come across as some kind of a salesperson or an axe murderer. They will know who you are. So get to know the people in your precinct. Now, of those, if you walk your precinct, there will be some percentage of them who want to be active. They will want to be involved. And from that, you can ask them to be a part of your precinct committee. That's the title, Precinct Committee Chairperson. The title implies the existence of a committee. And in too many precincts, the precinct committee chairperson consists of a committee of one, and because not enough precincts organize themselves. So after you've knocked on the door and met people in your precinct and identified which ones are likely to be active, pick a few that you would like to ask to be a part of the precinct committee, and then contact them again. You mentioned that you were interested. I'm forming a precinct committee. Would you like to be a member of that committee? And the questions that you're going to get are often going to be, I don't know, what's involved with that? And you can say, well, you know, our job as a precinct committee is to make sure that our party members in this district are aware of the candidates we're running, the ballot issues we're taking, and trying to recruit more people in the precinct to join our party. And then, of course, the biggest job that we have is to make sure that all of our party members in this precinct get out to vote. And so our job is going to be to contact these people periodically and make sure that they vote, and make sure that they're aware of who's running and who's represented on our slate. That is what you tell them. That is what their job as a committee person is. And you will get some people that say, no, I'm too busy. Actually, busy people are the best people. You know, the old saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person. But there will be some people that say yes. And even if it's just 1 or 2 or 3 people, and it's probably going to be 1 or 2 or 3 people, that's good. You will have some help. You will not be alone. And you will be a precinct committee chairperson of a committee, which should exist in every precinct within a county political party, or if you're building a county organization for a ballot measure or some other issue. Now, once you have a precinct committee organized, have monthly precinct committee meetings. These don't have to be formal. These don't have to be highly structured. Just maybe at your house or at a restaurant, have coffee, have lunch, whatever it is, and talk about what is going on in the precinct, talk about what your county political party is doing, and how you can keep your precinct engaged. When you talk to people and are going door to door, some of them will offer you their phone number. Don't be afraid to ask for their phone number. If it's okay to call you, don't be afraid to ask for their email address. You can come up with a list of emails, you can come up with a list of phone numbers, and you will be able to contact these people when there is a special election, when ballots are mailed out. Did they mail it in? Are they going to mail it in? Do they need to be followed up with? It's important to just over time compile a list of phone numbers, email addresses. You will already have the mailing addresses, the home addresses of where these people live, but that all is part and parcel of organizing your precinct. And so when you have these monthly committee meetings, make sure that you divide the labor. There's going to be a lot of labor, although phone calls and emails are a great way to keep people informed. There is no substitute for face-to-face, door-to-door contact. So from time to time, organize precinct walks with the members of your precinct committee. You know, a couple times a year, maybe 3 times a year would be ideal, where you're actually knocking on the door. Hi, it's me again. Just calling to let you know that we're still out here. We're still organizing the party. And you know, it's interesting, the more you do that, the more you'll get people to join. People join organizations that do things. And if you're knocking on their door 2 or 3 times a year, they're getting an email from you, they're getting a phone call. As long as it's not too much and you're not pestering them, and they'll tell you if you're pestering them, they will perceive that your organization is active, it's alive, and it's doing things, and you will find the number of people that are willing to help will increase. So it's important that you have your precinct committee sort of collected from the people that you meet during your initial precinct walk, that you have monthly precinct committee meetings with the members of your committee, and having a monthly meeting, seeing who shows up regularly, who doesn't, will tell you who you can rely on and who you can't rely on. And once you establish who you can rely on, then you can start dividing up tasks, making phone calls, issuing emails, doing door-to-door knocks, that sort of thing. You can divide the labor among the members of your committee. And then, of course, once you've done that, you have a very slick way to make the members of your party aware of who your candidates are. You'll eventually get walking pieces from the campaigns. You'll eventually get walking pieces from the issues that you're representing if you're doing it for a ballot measure. And then when you knock on the door, people, because they know you, will be less hostile. They'll be less nervous. They'll be more open and receptive to the information that you provide them with. Let them know who is running on your ticket. Let them know the issues that you are standing for. And of course, when it's time to hand out the literature, that is, of course, a face-to-face thing. People are resistant to do face-to-face interaction. People are nervous talking to folks they don't know. That's natural. And, you know, in this Facebook era, people are used to social media and phone calls. But when it comes to grassroots politics, there is absolutely no substitute for shaking hands, face-to-face contact, interaction, live interaction. And, you know, if you are in a district where your political party is outnumbered, or if you live in a district where the issue you care about is sort of outnumbered by your opponents on that particular issue, then this is the way to compensate, because almost certainly the other side will not be as organized as you will be if you do these things. And so you will have a higher vote percentage. And that is the next thing you do. Once you've made the people in your precinct aware of the issues that your party or organization supports and the candidate that your party or organization supports, the most important thing comes next, and that is getting out the vote. Contacting everyone in your precinct and make sure that they got their ballot, make sure that they have a plan to fill out their ballot. And we have an entire training on getting out the vote. I'll give you two of the highlights of that. One is if you make the act of voting part of their identity when you talk to them, it dramatically increases the chances that they're actually going to vote. So when you contact them, and when the members of your precinct committee contact the members of your party or organization, you want to simply say something like, well, you know, I've met you a couple of times. We've knocked on your door a few times, and it's clear that your party membership is a part of who you are, right? Okay, and generally they'll say it's true. Political party affiliation is very similar to religious affiliation in terms of being a part of somebody's identity or familial identity. So then the next thing is, okay, great. You agree that it's important to vote. What is your plan to vote? And a plan could be anything. It could be something no more complicated than, well, my wife and I were thinking about maybe sitting down at the kitchen table next Tuesday over dinner and voting. That's a plan. But if you tie the act of voting to their identity and you get them to come up with some plan to vote, Stanford University, who covered this in a study, has said it's 72% more likely that people will be able to vote. Now, in the last nonpartisan elections in Oregon, which throughout Oregon were on May 18th, between 17 and 20% of all voters voted. It was a very, very poor turnout. And in Washington State, they just had their nonpartisan elections on August 3rd. And they had a statewide turnout, at least in Clark County, of 17%, which is right in the same area. And a lot of this is because people aren't aware of some of these elections, particularly special elections, particularly local elections. And if you make the members of your precinct committee aware of the elections, of the candidates, and you follow up to make sure they vote, those percentages are much higher. And allows you to have bandwidth to overcome things like a voter registration disadvantage. And if you get other precinct committee chair people to follow suit in using these techniques to organize their precinct, you'll find that even if you're in a district with a registration disadvantage, that you can overcome that and you can realize political victories. There's nothing exotic about this. There's nothing new. I certainly didn't come up with any of these ideas. These are all tried and true, proven methods to organize a precinct at the grassroots in order to maximize your political party or political organization's electoral performance. And there is nothing exotic about it. It's just about doing the work and getting the people who have volunteered to be elected or appointed as political as precinct committee chair people, just getting down and doing the work. And then, of course, it's important that precinct committee chair people share their successes, their failures, and best practices with other precinct committee chair people in their organization or political party. A lot of times this can be done initially at an election night party held by your political party or issue organization, whatever might be the case. But then, you can follow that up later. People are generally having a good time at these events. They talk a little shop, but you can follow that up at your monthly precinct committee chair people meetings and at your monthly county political party or issue organization meetings. And reinforcing all of this is the file that I just sent to all of you a little while ago. Again, that file contains 3 items. It contains an outline of the presentation that I just made. It contains a handbook on how to be a precinct committee chairperson from the Republican Party of Texas, and a similar manual from the Democrat Party of Indiana. These were 2 of the best manuals that I have found. There might be others, but basically you'll find that these manuals provide a little more detail in how to do the things that we discussed here. And so at this point, this concludes the formal part of my presentation. And if you have questions or comments, now is the time. So join in. I'll unmute everybody and we can go forward. Let's see. Does anyone have anything to add? Monique? Hi, can you turn up your microphone gain a little bit? We can't quite hear you. Can anybody hear Monique? I think Monique is going to plug in her headset. You know what they say, to err is human, but to really screw up requires a computer, right? Yes. Okay, Monique has ducked down to plug in her headset. Does anyone else have anything to add while Monique is getting her tech stuff in order?
Working?
Yes, there she is.
Yeah, my other speaker thing doesn't work. I didn't really plan on speaking, but I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together. I'm a new PCP captain.
Oh,
and
what county?
Chris Wagner, he suggested that I come. So thank you, Chris.
Great. What county?
Lane County.
Lane County. Okay, very good. Are you in Eugene or Florence or?
I'm in Eugene.
Okay. Okay, very good. And so what would you like to say?
Well, no, I just wanted to thank you for putting on this presentation.
Well, it's my pleasure. That's what we do.
Thank you.
Great. Does anyone have any questions about the outline I provided? Has anyone, go ahead.
There's just one, right? I have 2 copies, but it's the same thing, right?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Somebody came in late, so I sent it again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one thing I don't like about Zoom is you can't go through the chat and scroll before somebody shows up. And so you've got to send everything once again. Now, you're a precinct committee chairperson, and Chris, you are too. Linda and Rachel, are you precinct committee chair people as well? I'm going to ask to unmute here. I guess not. Chris, have you done door-to-door before as a precinct committee chairperson?
Yes, I have.
And what was your experience?
The last election, there were some people that weren't up on the issues. So I think I was able to encourage a couple of people to vote, as we had school board elections here, and that's important right now.
Sure. Sure. Very good. And Monique, have you ever done anything like that before? Have you done canvassing or door to door?
I have not.
Well, you're going to have a lot of fun because
I can tell.
you're going to meet lots of people. Some of them will be, most of them will be great. A few will be jerks. It's
Yeah.
important. It's important if somebody is rude to you at the door. Some people, it shakes them up and they quit. It's important to not take this personally. It's the people that you contact door to door, they don't know anything about you really, and you don't know what they're going through, if they had a bad day, if they had a fight with their husband or wife or whatever it was. But it's important that when things don't go well at the door, that you remember it is not personal and it is not about you. And the very next person you talk to could be the nicest person in the world, and you could make a new friend. It's just hit and miss all over the place. Most of the time it's people in the kind of land in the middle. Do you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I mostly concentrated on the Republicans that were on my list and making sure that they had voted. So I wasn't going to hit everybody.
Yep. That's your job is,
Yeah.
your job is not to motivate everyone to vote. Your job, if you are a political party precinct committee chairperson, your job is to get the members of your party out there to vote, or people who you think are sympathetic to the goals of your party, whether it's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, or anything else. If you are working for an issue organization, it's your job to try and identify the people in your precinct who are likely to be sympathetic. There are ways to do that. You can contact the committee of the issue that you're working for, and you can ask to cross-index the list of voters that you have with lists of those who signed particular initiatives. If they sign the initiative, for example, they're more likely to be sympathetic to the ballot measure that you're working for. And so focus on those and hit the others last. But you're not working for, generally you're not working for an organization that says get out the vote for everyone. Everyone should vote. Your job is generally get out the votes of people who think like me. Now, of people who are working for those organizations that just want to get out the vote generally, then yes, by all means, knock on every door and ask if they have voted. But if you're working for an issue or a political party or a candidate, you want to emphasize those who are likely to support you. There might also be some ways to, if you don't have any information at all as who's sympathetic and who might not be, you can sometimes get information free on the US Census Bureau website, and you can overlay information like education, income, and those sorts of things. You can overlay those over precinct maps. And so based on education and income, profession, the kind of profession that they have, sometimes it's down to the household, depending on how people answered these things. But anyway, if you look at that information, you can sometimes make an educated guess as to who in your precinct is likely to be sympathetic to whatever you're working for or opposed to whatever you're working for, and then prioritize your walking time. Your time is valuable. You don't want to spend a lot of time getting somebody to vote who is likely opposed to what you're trying to do. You're just working against yourself. So it's good to have information. If you're working for a political party, get it from the party. If you're working for an organization PAC, get it from them. If you don't have any of that information, find it yourself. Get a list from the election office, a walking list for your precinct, and cross-index that. You can usually get it on a spreadsheet and cross-index that with information that's available from the US Census Bureau's website. So there's a lot to do. So I went on a little longer than I wanted to on that question, but it's a good point.
Richard?
Yeah.
Where are you located?
Well, right now, my wife and I live outside of Silverton in the middle of a bunch of Christmas tree farms. And the office that I have is in Tigard, where I'm coming to you from now.
Okay.
And so I've done this before, and it's fun. Sometimes you do it in the rain, sometimes you do it in the heat. Sometimes it's a beautiful day, and The important thing is to start. Once
Mhm.
the hardest thing to do is to knock on that first door. Once you get going, you get into a rhythm. It can be fun. It starts to be fun, and you start to see it working. You can feel it working.
Okay,
So
thank you.
is there anything else? Are there any other questions today? Okay, if not, we will call it a short session then.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, next week, scheduled, we have Cleon Cox, who's going to talk to us about Toastmasters, about joining Toastmasters and how it can improve people's public speaking skills. The week after that, we have scheduled Stephen Moore, President Trump's former senior economic advisor. He's going to talk to us about the direction of the national economy under the Biden administration thus far. And then the week after that, we have booked Wayne Allen Root, former U.S. vice presidential candidate, also a talk show host and a TV show host. He's on like 120 stations, and he's going to talk to us about, a lot of things that are going right and wrong in the country right now and how people can get involved. So again, the recording of this session will be up on our website no later than next Tuesday. And again, if you like what you heard today, if it was helpful at all, please feel free to go to the westernlibertynetwork.org website and make a financial tax-deductible contribution. But if anything else, come join us next Saturday for another one of these sessions. Anything else for the good of the order before we call it a day?
No, thank you.
Okay, very
Have a
good.
good weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend and God bless.
Thank you.
Bye.